welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're new around here, then my name is Katie. I'm a full-time sketchbook artist and I'm going to be off to Rome soon, so I thought I would show you my travel sketchbooking supplies. So it's just a short trip, so I'm not sure how much art I'm going to do, but of course I want to take some art supplies with me. Now, because it is only 4 days long, I'm only taking carry-on baggage, which means I'm going to have to really try and narrow down what I'm taking. I'm usually an overpacker. When I went to Japan, and I'll leave that vlog linked up here, and managed to create art whilst I was there, I was able to be a little bit more generous with my supplies, shall I say, because we did have checked bags, and there was also an art supply shop out there, so I could buy there as well. But for this one, I'm going to really try and narrow down what I'm taking and try and be a bit more limited. I've also made my own sketchbook, so I'll talk you through that and the reasons behind that as well. And then I'm going to do some swatching and try and work out the colours that I'm going to be taking with me. I'm also planning on doing a travel sketchbook tour, depending on how much I feel that is, but I hope you enjoy this video and let me show you what I'm going to take. Okay, so let's start off with the sketchbook that I'm taking. So normally I work in a Royal Talens. This is my general daily driver, but I think it's going to be too heavy and I'm not sure how much I'm going to be drawing. So like I said in the intro, I have made my own sketchbook. So here it is. I still made it quite chunky and I used papers from larger sketchbooks that I then tore out. So instead of it being case-bound sketchbooks, they were all spiral-bound. And you might have seen my auction art supply haul where I did get quite a lot of sketchbooks there. And I've used the paper from that, I've torn it down. I'm going to put some footage on screen so you can see the process. This obviously isn't a tutorial, and although I have bound some sketchbooks in the past, it hasn't been for a very long time, and this one isn't perfect, but I'm really happy with it. It's going to be great for what I need. I did get a bit carried away. I wanted to make sure I had enough signatures, so there is a lot of paper in here and I don't expect to fill it all on my trip, but I would like to continue filling it after I've come back. So I followed a tutorial that was a session with Beth Spencer and Margot Kent. So I'll leave a link to them down below, but they did a session and Margot creates her own sketchbooks and she was sharing her methods and how to create a sketchbook via their Substacks. So they did a joint session and I really enjoyed that. I found it really helpful, especially for creating the binding. And what was really nice was, in my head, I feel like when you're creating sketchbooks, it has to be perfect. And it really took the pressure off for me. So what I've tried to do is really embrace the different sizes. I want it to be homemade looking, and I also put in, obviously, loads of different stocks, so some rough and some hot press, as well as some toned paper, which I think will be really fun to work on. I haven't decided if I'm going to work chronologically or just move around this book depending on what I fancy, so maybe I'll find something that works really well with the brown tone paper, but that's halfway through. So I might jump about rather than have it chronologically, but yes, this is rough and ready and I'm okay with that. I want it to be a safe space to work in, and I think if it was super perfect and I spent ages trying to get the binding perfect, which it definitely isn't, then I would be a little bit scared to create. So I'm really happy that this feels handmade. It feels a bit more approachable for me to work in, and I'm looking forward to filling it and trying out different techniques on these pages. So my binding isn't great. As you can see, there is a big gap there, especially on this end one, which might need an extra piece of thread to keep it together, but it will get a bit battered in my bag and that's okay. It's going to be filled hopefully with some sketches. I also plan on taking a little glue stick so I can stick in receipts and things and really make it travel sketchbook. So I'm really looking forward to doing that. And as I said, I'm going to film a video when I'm back to show you what I've created. So this is what I plan on working in. I'm hoping it will hold together, but we will see. And yes, there are different page sizes in here. I just think it will be really fun, and the paper I've used will hold quite a lot of mediums. So let's decide on mediums next, because this is quite lightweight. It's not as lightweight as obviously if I had half the number of pages, but it's definitely lighter than a hardbound sketchbook like this, and so I think this will be more manageable, especially for me to get out. It does mean it doesn't have that sort of support, so I'll probably be working either on my lap, which might be a little bit tricky, or I'll be working back at the hotel or on a hard surface on a table. But I'm happy with that, and I'm going to meet those challenges when I get to them. So in terms of what art materials I'm going to be taking, Generally, when I'm going somewhere, I will look at some pictures of the place beforehand. Even if that's just a local plein air session, if I'm going to the forest or to the beach, it will alter the colours I want to take with me. So obviously, if I'm going to the forest, I'll make sure I pack lots of different greens. And it's the same if you are going abroad or if you're going away on holiday. So for me, going to Rome, there's a lot of neutrals, but there's also a lot of warm tones, so oranges and yellows and some trees as well, so I'll be taking some greens. But that really affects the colour palette that I want to take and will influence what art supplies I'm going to bring with me. The other thing that influences it is, of course, that I do have limited space because I am just taking carry-on. So I've got a little pouch here, which I'm thinking is going to be enough. So I'm going to just fill this. If you've seen some of my videos before, especially when I've gone plein air, I do have my pencil roll. So this is actually quite big. This is homemade and I can put quite a lot of brush pens and pencils in here. It has a little flap that folds down and a zip over here. But I think this might be too big. I think I'll get carried away with filling it, so I'm pretty sure I'm going to try and be determined to just fill a pouch with stuff, but we'll see how we go. I might switch that, but I'm hoping that I'm going to be controlled. We will see how we go. And then I'm going to swatch as well, so that will help me decide what colours I'm going to take. So I've just got a Royal Talon sketchbook here. Actually, it makes sense to just swatch in the sketchbook I'm going to be using. So let's do a swatch page at the front of this sketchbook. I'm just going to do it over here. I really do want this to be like a very rough, loose sketchbook, so I'm happy for it to have notes in, scribbles and swatches. So let's do it in here. So I do have a few things on my desk that I know I want to take, including the Albrecht Dürer watercolour pencils, which you might have seen me use in last week's video. So I think I want to take those, so let's pick out a few colours. They are water soluble and I think the versatility will be really helpful for this trip. So let's swatch a few and I'll decide on colours. Okay, I think a pink will be really helpful. Even if it's just used as line work or like pops of colour. As I said, lots of yellows and oranges, so I think a yellow will be really helpful and I can always mix these together as well. I do want to take an orange though, so maybe this one. A brown I think will be really helpful. But I've got to decide which tone brown. So I don't have a dark brown, I don't think. Oh yes, I've got this one, that might work. So either this one, which is the ochre, or I've got this sanguine, which I think, that's quite nice. I think I'll leave the ochre here and just take the burnt ochre. It's not sanguine, it's burnt ochre. Yeah, it doesn't look like I've got a dark brown in those colours. Maybe a dark grey would be useful, just to have that contrast. And then I can always take a dark brown from some other coloured pencils. I definitely want to take a green, so this is the cedar green. So already I think that will work nicely. Maybe a blue, a light blue. This one, light ultramarine. Okay, so I think that will be it for the watercolour pencils. I'm already looking at them wanting to take more, but let's stop there for those. So we've got 7 of those. And then I've also got my usual jar of pencils, so we've got all of these different colours here, but these ones aren't water soluble. Let's see, here's that ochre. I wonder whether to take it or whether I just swap in the other one because it might be more useful for it being water soluble. This is where it can really, I can really go wild. Let's just take a few different ones, so let's take that one. I definitely want a lighter green. So sometimes I'll think about what these pair with and have it like a mid or a dark tone with a light tone, so this green is perfect for that. I think that will be really helpful to have both of those. I've got a lighter blue as well. Actually, I think that's too dark. I'm going to swap out the light ultramarine with this luminance, which is light cobalt blue. So I'm trying to be good. I've got a pink, but I think that I'm just going to take that one pink, although that is a nicer tone. Okay, I'm going to swap that out. I don't want to swap out all my Albrecht Dürers. I think definitely for the greens I want to take the Albrecht Dürers. And then we've got the dark green, so I don't need to take a darker green, but I will take my dark indigo just because that's really helpful for, well, loads of things for windows, but also to have that contrast. So I think that will be a really helpful one to have. And then maybe that's enough. Let's see, what's this one? Terracotta, that might be helpful. But I wonder if like tone-wise it's similar to that brown. If I take that brown out and maybe pick a darker brown for my luminance, or Derwent Drawing might be better. This is Warm Earth. I don't know if that's dark enough. Maybe this one? This one's Sepia Red. Oh yeah, that's better. I think that's the brown I want. So this is a very changeable process. I switch things out, I'll change my mind a lot, swap things in and out, but I think it's really helpful to do before you go. Do I want some lighter tones? Maybe this one will be helpful. This one is Butternut, and maybe that's enough for those. Maybe I want a grey actually. What's this one? This one is Violet Grey. I can see that being helpful in Rome. Okay, so let's hold it there for the pencils, and I'll show you something else I really would like to take with me. Okay, so we've got our pencils there, but I think what will be really handy for this trip is to take an actual paint palette. So I have a video for setting up this palette, which is my plein air one, which as you can see is used and it's getting a little bit old in terms of the gouache being completely dried, but this is going to be way too big for me to take to Rome. So I've got a couple of smaller travel palettes which I think will be more helpful. So these are the ones that I've got. I've got two Derwent ones. These were sent to me, so I think I have to put a little add gifted up in the corner. These were for previous projects with them, so they were sent to me for review. I've got the Inktense paint pan set and the watercolour paint pan set. This one's slightly bigger and I don't think I'll need all these colours, so I don't think this one will be it for this trip. But the Inktense paint pan set is really nice. And I just think having the colours that I'll be able to mix myself will be really helpful. So it's either this one or this one, which is very, very old. This is an Aquafine watercolour palette pocket set, so it's perfect for travel. This is by Dale Rowney. And this looks like this. So again, it is smaller, and I think it's thinner as well. So I wonder whether I take this one instead. Looking at the colours, I think this will be more helpful, especially with that lovely sap green compared to like the Hooker's green or the Ionian green. So this one doesn't have a white, that's the only thing, but I think that's fine. I'll just dilute my colours a bit more. It would be nice to have a white in here, but these are different sizes, so I can't just swap and change, and I'm not going to an art shop to get a white watercolour. I want to just use what I've got here. But that's fine. I think this one will be more helpful than the other one, and again I can mix all the colours that I want. So instead of taking like a billion brush pens, I can mix some colours in here. So it's quite rare for me to use something like this, but I'm quite looking forward to the challenge. Usually I prefer my Kuretake Gansai Tambi set for watercolour, but that is way too big to take with me on this really short trip. So I think this will be really helpful. I'm not going to take it in its box, I'll just take it like this. I'm going to take this brush just because it fits, but I also want to take some others with me. So I've just grabbed all of these. These are push brushes, so they have a hollow barrel which you'll put water into. I've got a few here. I'm definitely not going to take all of these, but they are different sizes, I think. Let's have a look. This one's really good for big brush strokes. I definitely want to take that one. And then maybe I'll just take one other, seeing as I've also got this fine one, so maybe a medium size. Maybe this will be fine. So these are kind of like round brush sizes. They have a tapered tip, so I can get quite a fine point on there, as well as be a little bit wider with my brush strokes, but then I've got the other one as well. So just two of those. I'll need to empty those out before I put them in my carry-on because they do have water in them, and I don't want that to be counted in my liquid allowance. So two brush pens there, my watercolour set, my pencils, we might come back to those. And because I'm taking the watercolour set, I don't want to take a whole load of brush pens, but I do want to take some. I'll probably use the watercolour set when maybe I'm sat in a park and have a bit more time, but if I want to do something a bit more on the fly, I think brush pens are way more useful. So I want to take a couple. I'm going to try and be really careful with what I do take. I think a green will be really helpful. So this one's the 126. And then a couple of neutrals, again, which I might not be able to mix up without a white. This one is running out, so that's a no. I want to take something that's really nice and juicy. I think this one's a similar tone. This one's 990. Yeah, that one's better. Definitely take that one. And then maybe that's it from the Tombows. I have another pouch filled with my eco lines, so let's grab a couple of those and see how they work. I think grey will be really helpful. So a light grey. Oh, that's not as light as I thought. I think I've got a lighter one. Here it is. I think that one will be more useful. And then maybe that's enough because I've got this beige, but this one's slightly darker, this one's sepia light. Again, a different tone. I think that will be helpful. We're going to see how this is all going to fit in my little pouch in a minute. And do I want to take a pink? Yeah, I'll take a soft pink. And probably a light blue will be useful too. So I've got that in my Tombows. So this one's the 491. Okay, I think that's enough for brush pens. I don't know if I'll need the green, but I think it will be helpful to have. And then the other one, which I usually always is my go-to, is the 553. And just as a colour palette, I like these together, so I know they'll work together. So let's go with that one as well. I've already got quite a lot more than I expected. I do also have my Neo colours. Generally, I will only use these as like pops of colour, so I'm pretty sure I'm only going to take the colours that I really do use at the end of something. So I'm probably just going to take 2 rather than add more colours, because I've got the colours I need, and then I think I can work with that. So this one is salmon, which I wonder if I need to take at all, but this one is sky blue. I don't think I'll take the salmon, maybe I'll just take the sky blue and actually try and be a bit ruthless in this video for once. So let's see what we've got. Definitely taking this and the 2 brush pens, so let me put this in the pouch and see how it fits. So this pouch is from Daiso in Japan, so that fits in nicely. Now brush pens, they might be too wide, they're going to have to go in a bit diagonal. So we've got definitely the light blue. I do think it will be helpful to take these. Let's just see how they all fit in. If it's a really tight squeeze, then I'm going to have to narrow them down. I could probably take that one out. And the pink, maybe I'll take the pink out, because I think this is going to be a squeeze. Maybe I'll need a bigger pouch, but not too big. Okay, that's not too bad. And then we've got pencils, so I think the orange will be nice. Yellow, pink, definitely the brown, terracotta. Yeah, I think these are all good colours, but maybe actually I don't need this warm grey. I'll take that out because I've got the dark indigo as my contrast colour. So I've taken that one out, and I've also got the dark brown. So I've got the dark green and the indigo as my dark colours, and then I've got some mid and light tones here that will work with them. So I definitely want to take that pink. I've got the ochre. I think the yellow will be good for layering. Yeah, I think these are all nice colours, so let's see how they fit into my little pouch. I thought I was going to be really ruthless, and I'm packing loads, but I don't know what I wouldn't take. It's difficult being someone who's indecisive, because it depends on what I want to create when I'm there and what I'll feel like grabbing. But this is all fitting okay. And then we've got my brush pens. It does fit. It's a bit tight, but it does fit. The only problem with something like this is it's harder to get to. So with my pencil roll, one of the reasons why I love my pencil roll is because I can have it all out and I can see everything at a glance. I do think this will fit in my travel bag, and I wonder which is easier to take if I'm drawing out and about. I think I'll stick with the pouch. We'll stick with this for now. I'll let you know in the video when I do my sketchbook tour if I changed my mind. The other thing I'm taking is the little glue stick. I don't have that to hand, but it's basically like something like this. It basically looks like a pen with a glue stick in, so it's not like a really big chunky Pritt stick. And that's it, and that will be really helpful for sticking in receipts. I also want to take a clip, so just the one, that's just helpful for holding pages together, and a pencil sharpener. So I'm thinking this will squish in down the sides. Jury's still out whether I will swap for the pencil roll, but I think that is everything. So that's not bad, especially for me and as a mixed media artist. I'm really happy with this. There's everything I need to have in there and probably extra. So I think there's still plenty of choice there. I'm happy with the palette. That fits in really nicely. And this will fit in really nicely in my bag, as well as all the usual stuff that I'll take with me when I'm on holiday. So I hope you found that useful in terms of narrowing things down. I think swatching is really helpful in seeing your colour palette as a whole. And yeah, I'm excited to test this sketchbook out and try and fill it as much as I can. Obviously I'm still on holiday, so I won't be creating as much as I would like when I did go to Vienna, and that was specifically for art. That was a really fun trip, so I'll leave that up linked if you haven't seen it. But I'm excited for this one, and I hopefully will have something to show you when I'm back. There might be a video in between whilst I fill this and fill in a few more pages, but I'm really excited. I think this will be a really fun trip, and I hope you enjoyed watching. A big thank you to my patrons for their support, and I hope you have a creative week ahead. I will see you next week in my new YouTube video. See you later!